Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership and business from the inside out. And today I'm welcoming from the sunny Sunshine Coast, Lauren Clemett. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you for having me in cold Melbourne today. Goodness gracious, it seems like winter's really set in.
I know. And then we've got all these amazing listeners all around the world, and majority are enjoying summer. And I'm like,
The heat wave everywhere else in the world except for here. Exactly. Look, I can't complain. I'd be called a suki lala in New Zealand if I told them it's less than 20 degrees Celsius. It must be cold. It's like that. They're not even getting to double digits over there where I come from. So yeah, I know it's horrible.
Totally. And how's your week going, Lauren? Are you having a good one?
It's going awesome, actually. I had a lovely week last week. My mum was here from New Zealand. She's in her 80s. And she came out here for a week with my older sister. And we just had an absolute ball. It was so lovely to spend time with them.
Yeah, I think it reminds us of what's important and that, we're not always saving lives, even though we quite often think we are. And it's just nice to get that fresh perspective and just to be present with family and friends, I think is so important in this crazy world we're living in right now.
Absolutely. Taking a moment, and also made me very, very grateful for my amazing team, because I did get up early a couple of days and did a few things and got stuff out of the way. So I was still active in the business, but really there was no panic. There was no rush. There were one or two things I had to answer, but my team were just getting on with it. So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for the people we've got around us, because it enables you as a CEO to be able to have those times that, you need that downtime with your family, which is very cool.
And I think it's the ability to let go, trust. And the more you trust your team, the more they shine and the more they'll, I love it. Well, let's get on into it, because we've got quite a conversation here, and it's so important because identity is coming up a lot across so many different conversations right now. And there's this whole imposter syndrome, being your polished self versus being your real authentic self. Here you and I are, and I feel like we're both being our most authentic selves. And I think that's the most important part. You're the founder and CEO of the Audacious agency. Love the name, by the way. You also have your podcast, which is That's Audacious. And you are a keynote speaker and an author. We'll come back to that in a second. You spent your career exploring a really powerful question, if you like, and that is what becomes possible when people stop hiding their brilliance. And you grew up in rural New Zealand. I love that you still got your Kiwi accent. It's the best. And you grew up in rural New Zealand with dyslexia, asthma and eczema, and you often felt quite unseen. And that experience became the catalyst for a lifelong mission, and that is to help others find the confidence to step into their own visibility and voice. Today, as the founder and CEO of Audacious Agency, Lauren, you and your team help leaders, founders and changemakers build authentic personal brands that create the trust, the opportunity and the lasting impact. You're an award-winning brand strategist, best-selling author and international keynote speaker, and you're passionate about showing that recognition isn't about ego. I truly agree with that. It's about giving people the confidence to lead more boldly. Your journey reflects a shift from feeling invisible to helping others become impossible to ignore. And at the heart of your work sits a simple question. Here comes this possible piece again. What becomes possible when we stop hiding and start owning who we truly are? Oh, yes, so good. Feels like that's the year for it, right? It really does.
Wasn't it at the start of the year? Was it Year of the Horse or was it Year of the Snake?
Year of the Horse.
Yeah, so it really, and the year before was it Year of the Snake? I can't remember. I think it was.
It was like snake, because I'm a snake.
Getting off the old skin and then running forwards this year. And it's funny, actually, one of the women, I'll never forget what she said to me. She was in New York with us for the Stevie Awards for Women in Business last year. And we were in a room full of amazing women from all over the world, big companies like IBM and Google and TripAdvisor and so on. And there's also these entrepreneurs running their own businesses. And she said to me, Lauren, it felt like I was running with thoroughbreds, and just leveling up and being in a room with those sorts of women and those sorts of opportunities. And that's what it takes, just a little bit of courage to open the doors, force your way through them sometimes and find a seat at the table and want to be there and know that you actually deserve to be in that room with people. It's a big step. It's a bold step, but I think we have to take it.
Do you think it's what more women who are less inclined to take that big, bold step, and hence why we have this imposter syndrome? We have something that happened to us when we were children. Like I've been thinking a lot about identity. Like, there's certain parts of your identity as you were growing up that you didn't choose. You didn't go, "Hey, I want dyslexia," or, "Hey, I want asthma or eczema," for example. It was something that was just happened or, was there. And so it almost sets you back, doesn't it, in a way, because you start to go, "Oh, I feel different to other people," and you start believing all this stuff. So how did you then turn that into what you've turned it into now? Because it's an incredible story.
Yeah, thank you. I actually, there is research out there that there was a Harvard study done, and it was the one most people will know about. They've sort of heard it, where if there's an opportunity of improving yourself in terms of going for a promotion, men, 80% of the time, men will put themselves
Yeah.
forward regardless of whether they've actually got the skills to do the role. And 80% of the time, women won't put themselves forward because they don't think they're ready for that role. So I think it's more than just an individual trait. I mean, yes, I was born with asthma and eczema and, dyslexia and endometriosis later as a young woman, all these health issues I had to deal with. And they sort of made me want to be invisible, because when you've got eczema all over you, or you can't breathe properly outside because it's the middle of spring and all these grasses are in pollen and this, that, and the other, and your eyes are looking like eggs because a horse just walked past.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. As a child, you don't want to be different. You don't want to stand out from the crowd. So I did squash myself to become, a little bit shy and not out there and doing things. But I also had really awesome parents who pushed us to be very independent. So
Mm.
they moved from the UK to New Zealand as 10-pound poms. So, and it's funny, having had my mum here recently with me, we talked about, that leap of faith when she was in her 20s to leave her home. This is in the decades before the internet, before picking up the phone and talking to somebody on the other side of the world. They couldn't just do that. They were going to the very other side of the planet, and they had to wait for a letter or a telegram or something for news. So, how brave was that to move to the other side
So
of the
brave.
world with no one there, that they knew? So they always instilled in us that sense of confidence and self-belief that whatever life throws at you, you can deal with it. And I think it's
Mm.
because that's what they did when they were these pioneers in New Zealand. And lots of families, and there's some in Australia as well, same thing, where they moved from all around the world to live in different countries and start from start afresh and start a life and businesses and so on, and bring little parts of their tradition with them. And that's been embedded into our community here in Australia and in New Zealand, is this whole infusion of all of these different cultures.
Mm.
The sad part, I think, for women is it's been a long time that we've been told to be good and to be quiet and to not be bossy. And, whereas boys are encouraged to be brave and to get out there and be a larrikin and, it's a good old Australian term, and to try things. Whereas girls are like, just be a doctor, don't be a doctor,
Fit
be a
in.
nurse, be
You
a
need to fit
teacher.
in. Mm.
Yeah, be good, be quiet, be polite. And boys will be boys. It's okay. You can be boisterous and so on. So I think it's more than just an individual thing. I think it's an inbuilt trait for women that we second guessed ourselves. And as I especially see it when you're a woman in leadership. And I don't think a week goes by that I don't have at least one person I'm talking to about entering awards where a woman will say to me, "Oh, I don't know if I've done enough." And then I'll have a conversation with her and discover that, oh my goodness, she owns 12 McDonald's, or she's written all these books, or she's created these programs that are now being implemented in Yale and Harvard University. And she doesn't think she's done enough. And it's like, what are you talking about, woman? You're letting what I call the itty bitty shitty committee. And I've got a few of them
Yeah,
here.
I loved
There's
that.
a lot
The
of things
itty
here.
bitty shitty
A little
committee in your
bitty
brain.
shitty. Yeah, yeah. So I give those away when I speak at keynotes. We let those little voices, that committee of voices, talk us into not believing in ourselves. And I do think women suffer from it more than men. Men tend to be a little bit, oh, well, let's give it a go, see what happens.
Mm.
They're not as afraid of failure.
Mm.
And I think if women could just get over that fact that you need to back yourself, there's no one coming to rescue you.
No, I agree. And I think I've had to learn that, myself in the hard way also, in terms
Yeah.
of there is no one coming to rescue you.
No.
You either put yourself out there or you don't, or you're going to be left behind at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Because what I see happen, and I'd love your thoughts on this, and I'm reflecting on myself, is I'll see other people at times putting themselves out there on social media or whatever, and I'm like, kicking myself because I'm like, why aren't I doing this? And then I have to work out what's actually going on inside of me. And it's just like part of me, it's not ego that's kicking in. It's me just going, come on, like, let's be your most authentic, boldest self and stop caring what anyone thinks because I think that's half our problem. We care so much and worry about so much what people think. Like, am I being the good woman or the good girl? And if I say this, is this going to then change where I'm at? Like, change who I am? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And this isn't about changing you to be this extroverted, loud, bold, bossy person. It's really not about the external ego at all. It's
Mm.
about you having the self-confidence and the self-belief to do exactly what you said and to actually not just say, I don't care what other people think. That's very easy to say.
Yeah.
But to actually do it and either post stuff or share stuff or begin stuff or write stuff or whatever it is, lead in some way, doesn't mean that you need to become a different person or have a different persona. I guess it means in a way, and you'd probably think this way as well, it's about finding the thing about you that you love the most
Mm.
and amplifying that.
Yes.
So that might just be that you're really good at listening. Or you're incredibly caring and you've got a great memory and you remember people's birthdays or you remember my mum knows everything about everyone. So I would call her an old-fashioned gossip. She'd hate it if she heard me say that about her. She doesn't like gossiping. But for example, at the moment, the World Cup is on, right? The Soccer World Cup is on. She loves football. She comes from England. My dad was a big Liverpool supporter. My sister loves Arsenal. We've been brought up watching, World Cups and
For years.
leagues and all sorts of for years and years and years. We get up for the FA Cup final in the middle of the night when we were kids, you name it, right? So we're sitting there watching a couple of the games because we can get it free to air in here in Australia and she can't, she has to pay for it in New Zealand. So she's just really loving seeing all the football. But while we're sitting there watching, she's saying things like, now, he also plays for Bournemouth and he's got a lovely wife and 3 beautiful children and they were just on holiday the other day in Greece and I'm going, what? Talking about, sorry, how do you notice? Because I'm interested. I'm actively interested
Yeah.
in the team that I support, which is Bournemouth, and their players. But it wasn't just them. She knew all about Lionel Messi,
Yeah, it's
who doesn't, but
incredible.
she knew all about the other players as well. And she could tell us all this stuff. And I said, why do you know that? And she said, because I'm invested in it, because I'm interested. I
Mm.
want to know. And if
Mm.
you've got something that you're really passionate about, that you love, and you could talk for hours underwater about it, then just lean into that. You don't have to be good at everything. You don't
No, I
have to
agree.
be creating something that's not there already. You just have to lean into what you're already amazing at and you love and just live that.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a simple thing to do, and yet we make it so complicated because we're told you should do this, you should do that, you aren't focusing on this properly. When actually, what is our soul saying to us? What are we actually genuinely wanting to talk about? And that's energy for me, also, right? Like energy plays a big part in this
Mm.
because energetically, when you're not talking from a place of authenticity, and you also know when you are talking from a place of authenticity, and I think the more authentic you are, the more bolder you become, the more audacious to use your language. You get rid of
Yeah.
that itty bitty, shitty
Shitty
committee. I love
committee.
that.
Yeah.
Do you
I
agree?
think I would agree. The only thing that I think is a little bit contrary to what other people think is, we say when it's in flow, when everything's flowing and doors are opening, then you know you're in the right place. And I agree, alignment, and you just know when stuff is right for you. And I love people finding their thing, finding their niche, finding their lane, and not trying to be everything to everyone. I
Mm,
love it when somebody goes, this, I'm shutting some doors and going, this is what I'm focused on, because then they absolutely bloom and they grow and they become amazing. But on the same side of things, when you get pushback and when things are difficult or tough, I also don't think that's a sign that you're going in the wrong direction. I think that that's a sign that there's something you just need to learn about and grow a bit more into. So, for example, it might be, oh, I'm really afraid of doing a Facebook Live. I don't know what to say. I stumble over my words, and that's the bit that's hard is the pushing the button and hitting record and putting yourself out there into the world.
mm,
But if you're going to talk about something that you're really passionate about, that for 20 minutes you can talk about it endlessly, whether that's collecting stamps, whether that's baking cakes, whether that's raising children, whether that's fixing tax issues, whatever it is, yeah, if you could talk about that underwater, you're not having trouble with the thing that is your thing.
No.
You're not having an issue with your area of expertise and brilliance. You're just having an issue with the platform to get it out there.
Mm.
And I also don't think that you need to be on every single platform that's out there. You
No.
don't need to be in Snapchat and TikTok, and you don't. Just find the one you really like.
Yeah, I've just come to that realization. I'm like, I'm across everything. It's exhausting. I'm trying to
Mhm.
be like, just be the voice and what channels you liked work, like you like performing on. Oh, performing is way the wrong word. What platform is it that you like to express yourself or share your story and tell your story versus I have to be on every single one of these platforms because that's
Yeah.
what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, because FOMO creeps in, eh? That fear of missing out. And, I'm not on TikTok. There's all these leads. I'm not very good on Instagram. I hate Instagram. But anyway, so, someone said to me the other day, you're missing so many leads. And I went, well, I'm all over LinkedIn and I'm all over Facebook and I'm quite happy with that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting the leads. My business is growing. I'm getting loads of recommendations. I don't know what else I could be doing on TikTok or Instagram. Maybe if I had a young person doing it for me, I'd be happy. But I agree with you, B, that you've got to just find that space. And I've worked with a lot of people over the years who've said, don't put me in a box. I disagree with you, Lauren. I want to be free. I want to be able to do all these things. And I go, yeah, you can do that. It's just exhausting.
It
It's
is.
exhausting. It's expensive. And people just don't remember you.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's talk about awards. 'Cause
Also,
you've got tons of awards behind you. I'm looking at everything. I'm like accolade after accolade, and you do talk about this in terms of when you booked in for the pod, and I covered a fair bit of it in your bio. And you said that where was it? They don't realize the power of awards and how they build self belief and confidence. And
yeah.
awards is an interesting word in itself. And I come from the creative industry, and awards can be very ego driven or
Hmm.
they can be looked at in terms of, well, what impact have they actually made? And so, yeah, so it's an interesting situation. I can't think of the right word I'm trying to say here. Tell us a little bit about that in terms of the power of awards and why you see it's a great leverager, if you like, for self-belief and confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, but my backstory with awards is I always thought they were a big ego trip. When I worked with big
Same.
advertising agencies, Saatchi's and Clemengers and so on, same creative industry, the issue I've got with judging on creative awards, and I'm actually a judge on one of them at the moment. I've got to get on and do some judging online for them. The Symbol Awards are open at the moment for judging, is it's very subjective. Yeah. Any sort of creative area is subjective. I like this movie. I don't like that actor. I love this book. I hated that poem. Do you know what I mean? It's all down to personal preference. So I think that made me really concerned about the awards that I was seeing the agencies win. And a lot of the time they were winning them for their pro bono clients.
Mm.
So now just to explain how that works, when you've got a pro bono client as a big advertising agency, basically the client might pay for the media space. So they paid for the TV ad or the radio spot or whatever. This is before the internet. So they paid for being on the platform, but they didn't pay for the creative, which was normally charged out at some exorbitant fee, because that's the real thing. It's not just the time on air. It's not just the 15 seconds. It's will that little creative ad capture the attention of somebody? And especially for a pro bono client, which tended to be a charity or a foundation or a health cause or a government political movement or whatever, they needed to win people over.
Mm.
Yeah, they needed to win donations or encourage people to spend money with them or join them or back a cause or whatever else. So you needed to emotionally engage on that platform that you were on. So a pro bono type client wouldn't pay for the creative. They'd just pay for the media. They'd get the creative for free. The play on that and the way that the agencies used to win was by saying, because you're not paying for the creative, you don't get any say in what we create. We can be as crazy and wild as we like because you're not paying for it, right? So if we come up with an ad around road traffic accidents or alcohol abuse or whatever it is, and it's really off the wall, that's still okay because the clients basically, yes, they've got to approve it, but they don't really have too much say in it. So what used to happen was the agencies used to therefore create these crazy ads that would never normally get approval because it was a pro bono client, and then they'd put them into the awards categories because they were crazy, because they were just, and they were amazing ads. Don't get me wrong, the creative was phenomenal, the photography in it and the videography and the storytelling, and they also had an impact. A lot of these awards ads
Were
that they
effective,
have,
yeah.
yeah, they would be really effective. But it just got me that it was only because the agency was given free rein that, and they basically made campaigns in order to win awards because they were given that free rein. So I was very skeptical about awards for many, many years. And there was a creative lounge at Saatchi's that had these bins overflowing with awards. They'd run out of room on the wall for putting these, certificates and frames up. They had no more space. So they'd put these spikes on the wall, and they're basically impaling the certificates onto the spikes. It was just, to me, it was a bit just over the top and a little bit vulgar, really.
I'm listening and I'm giggling because I'm just like the amount of fights I've had over the years around, are you effing kidding?
Yeah, exactly.
Spending this
Crazy, eh?
time
Yeah,
and half the, it was
yeah,
so ego driven, a lot of it. I
yeah.
hate to say it.
Yeah. So there I am, a little girl from the country, living in the big city. I've travelled overseas, so I've definitely got the credentials to be there. I'm a production manager, and I'm seeing all these awards going, I don't know. And then we won, I was in the shit that folds department. So then the direct marketing department, stuff that had to go into envelopes and be sent out, right? And they came up with some amazing campaigns. And one of them was in multiple languages. Again, well before the internet, so you couldn't use Google Translate. It was all written and translated and repurposed and sent out to the Korean. But it was when you had to telephone overseas, and it cost you money to telephone overseas, right? So every minute it charged you a certain amount to be on the phone. I'm going back here to older people. So if you don't understand what I mean, you had to pick a phone up and dial,
Yeah.
and you'd be talking to someone, you'd look at the clock at the same time going, I've got to get off the phone because if it clicks over another minute, I'm paying another $2 or $3 or whatever it was, right? And they used to have these campaigns where for a particular weekend, it was half price.
Yes.
You call a certain country.
Distress.
So
Was it
yeah,
distress
so they
media?
go out to different languages, like it was Chinese or Mandarin, or it was, whatever. Go out. So we won. Those campaigns got such great effectiveness, and they just saw the call numbers skyrocket on those weekends. And we won an effectiveness award for that. And that got me thinking, oh, okay, so now you've got a reasonable third-party endorsement as to why that particular approach to a campaign was effective, and it made money, and it helped people connect with their families and so on. So that made me think slightly differently about awards. But it wasn't until 2016 where my ex-business partner said to me, look, you've worked for, big advertising agencies, you've won lots of awards, but have you won anything for yourself? And I went, no, awards are just a big ego trip. I don't want to do that. And she pushed me, and I entered the Asia Pacific Stevie Awards for my personal branding process that I had created out of nothing. Out of my experience in big advertising, I created a 12-week program for small business professional service providers to position themselves, to build a brand, and so on. I had 5 beta clients who did really well with it. They gave me their video testimonials and their feedback. I put it up for an award, and lo and behold, I won a Silver Stevie Award up against some big advertising agencies.
Amazing.
But it wasn't just that, it was the fact that with the Stevies, you get the judges' feedback. And the judges' feedback was saying things like, this is amazing, you're making something that's, normally really expensive, quite affordable and attainable for small businesses. Keep going, you're doing amazing work. And if I think back to that, that really made me go, there's something in this. Because now all of a sudden, I knew what I was doing was working. I had the evidence. I had clients who were doing really well. But now I had that self-belief from an independent panel of experts telling me, you're doing something awesome, keep going. And that was the very first, that was up on the wall. That's the very first one I won. And now it's just like snowballed from there. So there is something about awards in terms of the tangible fact that you've got an independent group of judges looking at what you're doing. And you do need to select the right awards. Don't go after the popularity votes or the the ones where you've got to go out and get votes. And you can do popularity stuff. It's fine. I don't think it's as leverageable or as credible. So look for the awards where you've got to actually put a submission in, that you get judged with an independent panel of judges. Look for the awards that have got really good categories that are perfect for you to go for. Doesn't necessarily need to be industry either. I know everyone normally starts with that, or they start with a local award. Oh, I'm a real estate agent, I'll just do the real estate awards.
Yeah.
Branch out and really think about, there's leadership awards, there's innovative awards, there's customer service awards. There's awards for trench digging. Would you believe, B? There's awards for digging trenches. So, so look around and go and find the awards that really are very, very leverageable, even if you don't win.
No,
What
leverage.
awards?
Mm.
What awards are going to give you that ability to talk about what you do in such a way that people cannot ignore you?
No, I love it. And it comes right back to self-belief and the confidence, right? Because from that, you're like,
Absolutely.
"I'm onto something. I need to
Yeah.
keep going. Here's some great feedback. How do I leverage it? How do I use it? And how do I keep going forward?"
Yep.
Let's talk just briefly. Well, let's talk a little bit about personal brand
Yes.
in terms of it's a big one at the moment, isn't it? Like I was looking at Cannes Creative Festival just recently and the creator economy. It's fascinating and fascinating how the media landscape is also changed and how important. Like I even looked at us found something coming to my feed yesterday around like entrepreneurs,
Yes.
founders. It's almost like you must have a media platform now. It was all around knowledge, all
Mm-hmm.
these different bits and pieces. I think you have to have, I call it your own market. Like what's your personal signature or your identity? I leverage my glasses these days.
Yes.
Like do you know what I mean? Like what are you seeing from a personal brand or a brand perspective that is more important than ever in your whole career
Yeah.
right now?
I think AI is probably the biggest threat that we need to use personal branding to overcome. I was involved in personal branding starting in 2010. So that was before people even knew what personal branding was. Like I'd say I'm a personal branding specialist. What does that mean? I'd have to explain it. Back in the day, people thought it was just for corporates. It was for people who were climbing the corporate ladder and they needed to build a personal brand to get their promotions and earn more money and so on. And when I started saying to people, no, it's ideal for people who sell professional services
Mm,
because you have to be trusted.
yeah,
Because if you're a real estate agent, you don't get paid until the sale's gone through. If you're a mortgage broker, you only earn your commissions after a year and so on, that it keeps ticking over. So you've got to build a relationship with people and to be trusted. You can't say, here's my product, go try my product, and if you like it, buy more from me. When you're selling a service, you're selling you.
mm,
And funny, my first book was called Selling You. And it was all about how do I position myself as a brand. And our brains, and I did this study years and years ago. There's a guy called Peter Steidel, and he was
oh yeah,
the,
I know him.
the leader in personal branding. He lives in Australia now. Actually, I think he lectures at Melbourne University. And I contacted him because he was the leader in it. And I said, look, this is what I know about personal branding. Do you think I need to go to university to get qualifications for this? And he basically said to me, if you went to university to talk about this, you'd be a lecturer because you actually know more than most people about it anyway. So he said, just do it. Just get out there and do it. Don't worry about getting qualifications because it's going to keep evolving and changing. And he was so right. But right now, if you've got any content that's been created before the era of AI, you are miles ahead. If you've written a book, if you've got a podcast or a platform or a program that you created out of your own IP before the internet came along with AI, you have such a wealth of content that is unique. It is ring fenced, and you should be looking after it in terms of where you're sharing it on AI platforms at the moment so that it's not being weaved out there into the universe that everybody else can tap into it and plagiarize it. And you also have a great platform to start with. If you're
Mm,
starting from nothing right now and you're having to generate all of that, there's always going to be a question mark. Did you create that or did you just feed it into ChatGTP?
mm,
So there's a questionable level of expertise. There's definitely a questionable level, especially around the creative field. And don't get me wrong, there's a fabulous, wonderful artist at the moment. Her name's Kelly Bosch. She's based in the US and she creates music and music videos and all sorts of things, all using AI. I love it. I love the videos. I love the music. I often play it in my office and I love what she's doing with that whole thing. But again, she came from a theatre background, a
yeah,
costume design background. So she's got that knowledge and that understanding of how fabric works and how it flows and how it moves in order to brief the AI on what she wants, right?
yeah,
So at the moment, I feel that I really feel for people who are new to it. If you haven't already got a platform or a brand or a thing that you can lay your hat on as your IP, you really need to do that sooner rather than later.
I
Otherwise,
agree.
there's
Mm.
always going to be that question about, oh, did you do it or did you just get AI to do it for you?
Yeah, and that's for me, that's identity piece, right? Like that's what's that story that only you can tell from the inside out. And yet rather than always like looking externally for I mean, I love this conversation because you're also talking about the fact that if you let AI write your personal brand, you just gonna become beige and like everybody else. And
Yeah.
so this is where we really need to be bold, be audacious, step out of our comfort zone and just start putting it out there because you can see on social media what's real, what's not real, who's even when you talk to people and then there's this mask and next thing you're talking to them afterwards or and they're like you see themselves and like, why are you putting that on? Like just be yourself. Like
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at in terms of there's just no hiding anymore. It's like there is only one way, and that is to be your most authentic self.
Yeah. And to have that level of integrity that you show up and you deliver on
Yeah,
your promises. And
yeah,
it's really hard to do that if you're creating a fake persona all the time
yeah,
and then you've got to deliver that in real life. It's too hard. It's
yeah,
much easier just to be authentic.
yeah, absolutely. So, just on that, then what's next for you? What's next for Lauren? What's next for the Audacious agency? Like, what's next? What are you, yeah, what's next coming up with you you've been like a pioneer in personal brand. We're at this almost critical point in time. Have you started to like, are you like also going, okay, well, what from a personal brand perspective ourselves, what are we doing to ensure that we're staying ahead of yeah,
Yeah, good question. And it's always a hard one because when you're running a business and you're in it all the time, to step out of it for a moment and look at what you are doing, that's the hardest part because you just get so bogged down in the
yeah.
weeds and getting stuff done, right? And it is probably one of my biggest tips if anyone's listening and they're going, well, where do I start? What do I do?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm gonna ask you next.
Yeah, walk away from the computer, put aside everything, go sit under a tree, go sit by the beach, go find some space. I know when I worked at Saatchi's, and again, computers sort of arrived, they were in the studio, they weren't sitting on everybody's desks back then, but the best creatives would not be sitting in their office coming up with stuff. They'd be out at the museum or at the art gallery or in the pub, often in the pub. But do you know what I mean? They'd be out experiencing the world. And I know one of the creative directors, and we used to have a creative evening at Saatchi's, and it was once a month, and all of our work would be posted up around the place, and we'd get to talk about our work, and we'd all vote for which piece of work we thought was the best that month, and so on. And every department got a chance to do a bit of a
Yeah.
welcome and so on. And one of the art directors, he was British, and he was in his mid 40s, quite a nailed down guy, and always wore a collared shirt and so on. And he blew us away one night because he had been out with the guys doing, and that was when street dancing and beatboxing and that sort of stuff was around, and people were tagging stuff with graffiti, and it was getting into skateboarding, and there was all this sort of stuff happening at
Yeah.
the time. And he basically took his shirt off and revealed that he'd had both nipples pierced. That was the length that he was prepared to go to embed himself into this culture. And it blew us away
Yeah, I love it.
because no one does that sort of stuff, right? So it made me think you don't get that sort of experience and that sort of knowledge and that understanding sitting behind a desk looking at a
No.
computer screen. So I guess for the Audacious agency, I mean, it's a big year for us, probably our biggest year. Every year we go to the Stevie Awards for Women in Business in New York in November. Last year we had 19 women with us on tour, and I think we had about 60 people came to the actual event. We had billboards in Times Square and photography and just
Love
an
it.
amazing platform for women in business to just lift their profile. And women would come back from that. I know one of them came back with 22 bookings in her diary to talk to businesses that wanted to work with her. One got a book deal out of it. One had 72 connections after the event
Incredible.
to talk to. It was just huge for a lot of people. One's gone ahead and is now running her own international coaching business between Australia and America. It's just gone off since then. So this year I capped it at 30 coming on tour with us. We've already got 23. And they don't close until August. So it's just, this year's going to be pretty crazy and pretty hectic for us. But I wonder whether with the Audacious agency, I mean, we really have stepped up into working with a bigger group of clients.
Yeah.
So they do tend to be more, they've got 20, 30 staff. One of them's got 450 staff now. So they're almost not eligible for a lot of the awards that we used to do.
Yeah.
So they're too big for the Small Business Champion Awards. They're too big for the Telstra Awards. So now we're leveling up into that higher level. It was weird. In January this year, I created something called the Audacious Academy. And it's basically the Netflix of profile building. So I've taken all of our IP and created a binge-worthy online platform with an AI avatar. Her name's Annie, and she takes you through every process, how to find awards, how to choose the right categories, how to write your entries. There's AI prompts, how to leverage them, how to turn them into blogs, all on an online platform. You can fill your boots on it. And the timing for that was probably ideal because we're getting to a point now where we can't help everyone, like I said
No,
before.
it's yeah,
Can't help you do
absolutely.
Mary and the Dairy. So now we've got that to be able to say to people, look, if you can't afford to work with us, just go and do that. Just binge worthy, watch that for Netflix it for a month, fill your boots, get what you need and go and enter yourself, but at least get our IP so that you're doing it well and you're
Love
not
it.
wasting your time.
Gosh, you've got me thinking about awards now. Like you did send me the link. You did send me the link the other week when I caught up with you, and I'm like, yes, I should look at that. And yet here I am going, you question it, right? It's just like just like it's practice as well. The
Yeah.
more you enter, the more you get better. The more your confidence builds. You sometimes you're surprised and delighted. Other times you're like, okay, yeah, it's good feedback. I need to take that on. I need to
Yeah.
adjust this and adjust that.
Yeah.
Lauren, we have
It's,
spoken for
it's definitely a snowball effect, B. I think that's the thing to think about. You got to start with the core. What do I want to be known for? What
yes.
sort of awards will I go for first? And then
Yes.
build on that and build and build and build. Yep,
So
absolutely.
true. Gosh, I might have to come and I might have to book in an appointment. Oh no, I probably just need to Netflix for the next month to remind myself. Like, I think I've just been a little bit like bruised by awards in the past where I'm like, oh my gosh. Although when I've entered them, like, Women in Asia, advertising, like all those awards over the years, I've always done well. And, Women in BT Media Awards, I've always loved it. So
Yeah. Well, we have what we call an ambition call. And it's 15 minutes and anyone can ring me for free and we can have a chat about what sort of awards would suit you, whether you're ready for them. Just have an ambition call with me and we can work it out. It's
well,
easy.
I love it. That's a great call to action, a great way to end the show. Lauren, thank
Yeah.
you so much. So go to your website is that where we book the
Yeah,
ambition?
the Audacious Agency, absolutely. Just you can get hold of me from there, book in a time to have a chat. But yeah, more importantly, just the first step is to figure out what you want to be known for and go for it. Don't let anyone tell you you're not worthy because you absolutely are.
I love that piece of advice. So all the listeners out there, if you don't think you're worthy, you need to just bite the bullet and get out there and put yourself out there and see what's possible, right? Like if you've got that imposter syndrome going on, no one's coming to save you. Absolutely so true. Thank you, Lauren. Have a wonderful evening. I was going to say a wonderful day, but it is the end of the day. So enjoy that walk that you're about to do. I'm going to go and do the same, even though it's freezing cold. There's a little bit of sunshine. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me. I've loved being here.
No, thank you. Take care.
Cheers, awesome.